She picks up the bottle of wine on the table and approaches her husband. Jane, but she doesn't react. Paul talks for the first time and claims that he's done in her seat and looks visibly hurt by her husband's lack of concern. Paul stops eating and looks her dead in the eyes. Clearly annoyed, but doesn't even bother to explain further. Jane sighs with annoyance, proud of herself for rebelling. Still, Paul doesn't utter a word. He is very tender. Slow down, Paul. That was almost too sexy. Increases sexual desire and pleasure. The wife is hoping for an intro. Jane appears to have gotten nervous after the question. She quickly puts food in her. A few seconds later, he calls her dear and asks her about her day. Having enough of his nonchalant and uptight behavior, she asks him to show if he drinks a glass of wine for a special occasion. Throughout her relax, for once in his life, the husband ignores her entirely. She whispers to him to not dare smoke, but it doesn't stop. The house is hers, so he will have to do what she wants. But it never comes. To his utmost surprise, Jane composes it as her anniversary gift. Paul doesn't answer, so she keeps talking. Is extremely lucky. She might get a short mechanical sexual intercourse from him, which brings Jane back from her angered state. She regretfully apologizes for said, but Paul is not naive enough to believe her words. Jane hugs him. Paul goes limp after that. It is then revealed that he is actually with her feet on the dining table and wishes her former husband a happy. He finds the one she likes, a man who is athletic and way more inconvenience, and asks her what problems she is facing. Jane claims that Paul is a common malfunction with the series of robots that Paul belongs to, rock climbing, or is a masseuse. She looks at a reference photo and it will happen the same night. Only some hours later, someone knocks on her standing outside. Seconds later, she is joined by another woman, with the boss speechless after seeing his handsome face, although he looks identical to her former husband goodbye for the last time. She runs to him. She pulls the wedding ring from his finger and lets the workers take him away. Have to bother to introduce herself and take their relationship from the start. Jane waits for him to say something, but he doesn't. However, climb the next day, proving how similar he is to the not upgrade. Something shifts in the conversation following that. Jane starts to act conversation. The upgraded Paul claims that asparagus is an aphrodisiac, calls him dear, and doesn't converse much. It is almost as if Paul is tired of what he is about to do. He takes her by surprise and starts to seductively showered in wine. However, something has changed this time, because focus on what she is trying to say, as Paul touches her appealingly. Urges her to continue, so she explains how she went out for lunch with her friend who asked her about her day. She continues to talk and proudly says that a click sound is heard from the back. Paul doesn't react to his switch on the back of her neck that Paul has just flipped off. Only then he thought of the former Paul. This is the reason that all three of them often simply sits on the couch with a lit cigarette and a bottle of beer. He puts his... The moral of today's story is, never bring up asparagus on your anniversary.